Welcome to the OverTime Northern Arizona's only sports show. I'm one of your hosts, Kristen Chancellor, and joining me tonight is my co-host of the Axe, Brenden Martin. Brenden, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, Kristen. I'm really excited for this final show of the OverTime this year.
I am too. Let's get into today's debate. The head coach of Oklahoma, Lincoln Riley, has made a sudden decision to take the head coaching job at USC. After a post-conference interview claiming he would not be moving to LSU and how he was committed to OU. Brenden, what did you think about this decision?
Yeah, Kristen, this decision certainly came out of nowhere this week after Oklahoma's loss to Oklahoma State this weekend. Lincoln Riley now being the head coach at USC, I think it's a great move for him. I think it's something that certainly wasn't expected, but the fact that he's going to a brand new school, a school that isn't struggling in USC, the expectations are a lot lower, while at the same time he's jumping ship from Oklahoma, where in a few years' time, they'll be joining the SEC. We'll be playing a lot of very good teams that can certainly give them trouble in the future. Joining us now is sports reporter Cameron Richardson. Cam, what did you think about the move of Lincoln Riley going to USC?
Now, word's going around that Lincoln Riley might be scared to go to the SEC with Oklahoma, but that's just not true. Let's look at the three places he had ties to: LSU, Oklahoma, and USC. Oklahoma, sure, might have had a commitment there and a lot of players, a lot of passion out in Norman, Oklahoma, but it's in the middle of nowhere. Who really wants to live there? Then there's LSU. Great culture, great food, but who really wants to live in the middle of a swamp? Then there's USC, right in the middle of Southern California. Weather never changes, and Lincoln Riley can get a house right on the beach. Plus, he gets to rebuild one of the most decorated college football programs ever. So it was a win-win decision for him. It made the most sense for him. I just don't see how people can really complain about this. Kristen, do you think the grass is greener in California?
You know, I think this was a good call on Riley's part, although it did leave a bad taste in people's mouth on his behalf in OU. But let's get into our next topic. Brenden?
Certainly. The Arizona Coyotes have had a rough start to the NHL season, sitting in dead last of the Central Division. With all the rumors about the franchise leaving Gila River Arena in Glendale, Cam, is there anything this organization can do at this point to turn things around and maybe stay in Phoenix?
Well, Brenden, when they used to howl at goal scorers, those are now mere whimpers down in the valley for the Coyotes. I just don't know what this team wants to do anymore. One year they want to make the playoffs, the next they want to tank and rebuild and only win 20 games. There's no direction for this franchise, and with how good the Cardinals and the Suns are doing, and with their superstars as well, there's just really no place for the Coyotes to fit in. And they got rid of their cornerstone pieces over the offseason with guys like Christian Dvorak, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, and Connor Garland. There's just no direction. There's no stability within the franchise, and I would not be shocked if they left the state, maybe even left the country, maybe to a city that's been begging for an NHL team like Quebec City. But Kristen, I know you have ties to the Valley, so what's your take on Arizona? Are they out?
You know, as someone who's watched this team for many seasons, it was disappointing when they chose to rebuild and get rid of those key players. But I think, to contradict you, I think there is still potential for this team. I think you have Clayton Keller, who was a big name when drafted to the Coyotes. You still have Jacob Chychrun, who has taken on the leadership and captain role for the team with the departure of Oliver Ekman-Larsson. I think a great aspect of this team is Phil Kessel, who is now the veteran player who leads and creates a positive mindset in the locker room for these players. I think, like you said, though, they can't really maximize on goal-scoring opportunities or pushing their way down the ice to score. So I think their deal in Tempe may come to an end soon. But Cam, how about our last topic of the night?
Yes, let's touch on some NFL. The Cardinals, who we just talked about a little while ago, currently sit at 9-2 and have the top seed in the NFC. But last year, after the bye week, they went 3-6 and missed out on the postseason. However, with that top seed and fewer games after the bye week, maybe they're bound to make the playoffs. But, you know, with ties with Cliff Kingsbury going to Oklahoma maybe, and Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins injuries still, you know, as they're still going through that, it's really unknown what the Cardinals will do. So, Kristen, do you think the Cardinals will hold on to the top seed in the NFC, or will they flame out like they did last year and potentially Kingsbury will maybe shift back to college and go to Oklahoma?
You know, I think, like you said, the injuries have played a major role with the Cardinals this season. I think they started out undefeated for the longest running in the NFL, but the injuries have taken them down, and they just aren't utilizing all of the other components they have on their team. I mean, with DeAndre Hopkins out, Kyler Murray, those are their big names, and J.J. Watts, but without them, they seem to be dwindling and not really making themselves a big name. I think they had this bye week, and hopefully they can come back from it and win their upcoming game. But I think they have the potential to hold on to that seed, but I do see teams like Green Bay coming right behind them and nipping at their toes. Brenden, what's your perspective?
Yeah, totally. I echo a lot of the same sentiments you have where, yes, this Arizona team is certainly legit. They have a lot of great players, even with the injuries to Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, recent acquisitions like J.J. Watt. They still have a very solid core around them, and I think that even with Kyler Murray being out, Colt McCoy and that offense has still been able to hold down the fort fairly well, considering the vast amount of injuries that have happened across the NFL and have really hampered a lot of teams. I think that with the way that division works, they should be better off now compared to where they were at the beginning of the season, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see where this Cardinals team goes for the rest of the season. We'll have a look at a name known around the community as one of the voices of the Flagstaff High School rivalry coming up after the break. Stay tuned.
Every day across America, excess food is gathered by a network of good people at local food banks, giving hope to millions of children who struggle with hunger. They've earned their wings, and you can too. Together, we can solve child hunger. Support Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Testing. Why did the girl ask the mushroom to dance? Because he was a fun guy.
The rivalry between Flagstaff and Coconino High School has been around for decades, and thanks to the help of one man, the history and meaning of this rivalry have been preserved.
No one loves the crosstown rivalry between the Eagles and the Panthers more than one man. Russell Woods has dedicated 10 years of his life putting together his website based on the rivalry. He used old articles from the Arizona Daily Sun and other sources to put together stories dating from the early 20th century.
After doing research, I put together a list and I had all these articles from the games, and I started writing my own stories for those games and put them on a website. That's how flagcoco.com was born.
Woods also gives out his own award, recognizing both Flagstaff and Coconino players. The Cromer Awards and Spirit Awards winners are chosen by readers through an online voting system.
Fans will start emailing me about their picks for the winners throughout the fourth quarter. And often it's a popularity contest, but most of the time they get it right, and I come up with 3 finalists.
Former Eagles running back Luis Jaramillo was a 2-year recipient of the Cromer Award. He says he understands the importance of receiving recognition from someone in the community.
It definitely meant a lot, knowing that I was recognized, by many, not just, my team accolades, but it definitely, was meaningful to know that other people kind of view the hardship and what it takes to be a player at that high level and against a good level team.
Having graduated from Coconino in 1987, 34 years later, he still makes time to watch both teams play against each other, especially at the Skydome.
I like the idea of being back a little bit and providing history and stat. And I like to be that guy that gives an extra level of interest to sort of tie the players today to the players from when I was growing up.
Woods is dedicated to watching and advocating for this great rivalry. With the football season now behind us, he'll soon be focused on basketball. Their first rivalry hoops games for the boys team will come in January. A big thanks to Russell Woods for taking the time to talk about high school football in Flagstaff and its legacy. You can learn more about the rivalry at flagcoco.com, and you can reach out to him via Twitter and email. Those can be found below.
When we return, sports reporter Michael Manny has a surprise for us with something brand new to the show. You won't want to miss this when we return.
Live with a human for a while and you get to know a few things. Like, I know she's actually not a morning person. I know she does strange tricks for no treats. I know that water makes her howl like crazy. I even know how the floor stays so clean. She's quick. But the one thing I will never for the life of me know is how she gets so tiny and inside that box. Natalie, how do you get so tiny?
you can make retirement happen. After all, you made her college years happen. Wacha. Opening that education savings account when she was little. Spearheading a campus tour. And another, and another, and another, and another. Bam! Deciphering financial aid. She was like, what? But now she's like, you aced planning for college. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Welcome back to the Overtime. I'm sports reporter Michael Manny, and today we're going to do something a little different and debut a new game show segment here on the Overtime called The Buzzer Beater to test our reporters' knowledge of Arizona sports around northern Arizona and the entire state. Welcome to our first two contestants, our hosts tonight, Brenden Martin and Kristen Chancellor. Guys, how are we feeling tonight?
You know, I'm excited. I think this is a great addition to the show, and I'm excited to see what the questions are.
Yeah, same here. I'm totally excited. I've seen a lot of game shows in my day, so it's going to be great to be in one.
So we're going to start off with the NFL. As we were talking earlier, the Arizona Cardinals are playing on Christmas this year for the first time since they played on Christmas Eve in 2017. Now, guys, who was the Cardinals' starting quarterback in that game?
Drew Stanton.
That's correct. That's correct. Score one.
Round two.
So sticking with the NFL and the Cardinals, who did the Cardinals defeat in the 2008 NFC Championship to move on to Super Bowl 43?
The Eagles.
That's also correct.
2 points for Kristen. Round three.
Kristen off to a hot start. So now moving over to the NBA, moving over to basketball. Where did Phoenix Suns forward Mikal Bridges go to college?
I don't know what school, but I believe he was a Wildcat somewhere.
Not quite it. Brenden, do you have a guess?
I really don't. I'm going to guess, throwing one out there, Vanderbilt.
No, not quite. It was Villanova.
Close enough.
Round four.
And now moving over to the baseball diamond, the Diamondbacks, in their history, have won 5 division titles. When did they win their most recent one, guys?
2010?
No, not quite.
2006.
No, that's not quite it either. 2011, so close, but not quite.
Round five, still 2-0 Kristen.
So now, guys, we're going to shift gears a bit to see how well you know Northern Arizona sports. Basketball season is in full swing here at NAU. When was the last time the NAU women's basketball team made the NCAA tournament?
2006.
That's correct.
3 points Kristen, 0 for Brenden.
And we're going to have just one last question here for tonight. What about the men's team? When was the last time NAU men's basketball made the tournament?
2000.
That's correct. Brenden gets on the board.
Kristen wins 3-1.
Guys, thanks so much for participating in this first edition of the Buzzer Beater here on the Overtime, but I'm going to send it back to you guys over on the desk.
Well, thank you to Brenden, Cameron, and Michael for joining me tonight, and thank you for tuning in. Be sure to check out some games over the break, and we'll be back next semester for more editions of the Overtime.